What's good? Y'all tapping into Urban Moguls and B. Right here, we drop the most game, man. Nah. We're gonna be checking fucking up. Fuck, bitch. Today we got a real special guest. She goes by the name of Danielle from 1015 Management and Project Level. So go ahead, let the people know where you from, what you do, and what's your ethnicity.
All right. Well, I am from San Francisco, born and raised. What do I do? I am a creative director for 1015 Management. I am the co-founder of 1015 Management, as well as the co-founder of Project Level, which is our nonprofit organization that we specialize in youth development in the arts. So we basically took all of our experiences in the music business and turned it into a program to teach young people how to take their talents and turn them into careers and opportunities.
Gotcha. Ethnicity?
Oh, I am African American.
African American.
I am.
Yeah, say it loud and proud.
Yeah. I'm black
Yeah.
and I'm proud now.
So you being from the city, what part of the city you from?
I'm from Fillmore, so from the Western Addition, from where our mayor is from,
Okay.
where I met my husband, Big Rich. He's from Fillmore, so born and raised. I lived in different parts of it, but I've lived in the Western Addition like more than half of my life. So, rich in culture and a lot of history for sure.
Something in the water over there, huh?
Oh yeah, we're pretty dope.
Yeah. So what was it like growing up in your section?
It was cool. So I grew up around the hoods, right?
Yeah.
My parents definitely tried their best to give us an opportunity to live outside of the neighborhoods that were, riddled with violence. Right. We lived in it for a little bit, but they worked their butts off. 9 to 5, 5 to 9. They worked the graveyard shifts just so they could provide a better life for us.
Right.
And so growing up over there, I somehow was always attracted to the hood, the men, and just like the lifestyle, the culture. Yeah. It was a lot going on there. But I also went to private school. So I really didn't get to be as involved with the people that went to all the public schools, everybody who was cool. Like, I was not around it, but I lived near it. But my parents were strict. So I couldn't go in it. I had to sneak out or after school go with my friends and walk through the streets and Fillmore and just, talk to everybody, hang out, do stuff I wasn't supposed to be doing. Right. But it was cool. Like, it was very vibrant.
You think, my fault, let me cut you off. You think going to public and a private schools made a big impact on your life?
Absolutely. Yeah. It made a huge impact on my life. I've seen a lot more that I didn't know I could be exposed to. I met a lot of different people from different backgrounds. Right. But really it was more about what I was exposed to and the opportunities that I did get to see. I ended up going to a public school my senior year of high school because I was cutting up. So I got kicked out of my private school, but I had probably the best time in high school my senior year. So I had a good dose of everything, but everything kept pulling me back to a specific life. And private school was great. It did a lot for me, but where I was headed, I just needed to be around a lot more culture.
People like you, like-minded and with understanding and whatnot.
Yeah, because I definitely, going to private school, it's less of us there.
Right.
And so, I needed more. I needed the interactions that I just couldn't get from that space. So it was just like, I wanted to be around my people that I didn't really know because my parents kind of kept me away from it. Yeah. But I was drawn to it. So I wanted to be with the peoples,
Yeah. And how many people did you have in your household? You have any siblings?
Yeah. I have two brothers, and then my mom and dad. So I'm the oldest, and then I have a brother that's a year younger, and then I have a brother that's 13 years younger than me.
Yeah.
And I was like his mom. So
yeah. That's what I was going to ask you next is what kind of role did you play in your household? I mean, you being the oldest, you know, you gotta lead by example and whatnot.
Right.
I mean, sometimes it's the oldest one that messes up and is example.
Yep.
I mean, that's basically in life.
Yeah.
You either gonna be the example or you gonna be, you know, just a leader. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
So
Yeah, I was the only girl. So let's start there. The only girl and the oldest. So, and my parents, we were heavy in church. So it was none of that happening. Like, I couldn't wear lip gloss.
What?
I had to come straight home after school. There was no hanging out. There was no going to the mall. My parents were so strict. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And like I said, I was attracted to everything else, but that's because I was sheltered.
Right.
You know, when you're sheltered, you're like, what else is out there?
Imagination, huh?
Right. What you
Crazy.
keeping me away from? Because I want to be in the mix, right? So, yeah, I got in trouble for everything. Like, God forbid a boy called my house. Oh, I was in trouble.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't do nothing.
You better not
like,
even walk by the steps either.
Oh, like, who you smiling at? Okay, like, like any boys that I ever dealt with were at church.
Yeah.
So it was like, and that was probably worse than they actually expected.
Hell yeah. What would you say some beliefs that your parents instilled to, I mean, you and your brothers?
Right. You know, really was just like, you know, investing into yourself. You know, like every decision that we made was going to be something we would have to deal with. There's a consequence or it was a benefit to our lives. And my dad always stressed that, and as well as education was a big thing. But for me, he was always about, he wanted me to be a good writer.
Right.
And so he was always on my head about writing. So like math wasn't my strong suit, but writing, he was like, you're going to write, you're going to read. And I guess I could read contracts and I could write them. I could do a lot of stuff. I've written for millions of dollars of grants. So my writing actually got me to a place that's sustained a life for me and my family.
Right. Was it hard, you know, maneuvering through all the stuff? I mean, growing up in the hood and then being with like a strict family. I mean, how were you able to be like strong-minded, you know?
Yeah. Well, I feel what you were saying is like what ended up happening was like the way I maneuvered, I really just couldn't wait to leave.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait to leave my parents' house because I'm like, I felt like I was in a box.
Right.
And I went away to college. I got to do my experiences there, but I came back home. And then right around that time, I met Rich.
Yeah.
And so like everything shifted. And I was like, I'm cool. I'm going to do whatever it takes to have this life. And my dad was kind of like, if you do that, you gotta take care of yourself.
Yeah.
So that's what kind of situation I ended up being in when my parents were like so strict, but I'm like, I'm 18, I'm gone.
Yeah.
So it took a lot.
Yeah. I mean, you're so strong-minded now, and you know, with all the stuff that you're doing, were you always like that, or did you know you meeting Rich actually elevate your life and the way of thinking?
Yes, absolutely. No, I was not strong-minded because honestly, I didn't have a voice. I was do what you're told, and I did as much as I could. I tried my best, but I found my escapes in like reading and writing, and that was it. But I really could. I was told to go in this path, and I just did it because I had no other choices. Me rebelling out, it just wasn't an option because I was scared of my parents. Like I didn't want to, you know, cross them. And the few times I did, it was bad. You know what I'm saying? So it's like there was a whole lot of fear. And so I like asking to go outside was a fearful question.
Yeah.
They weren't abusive. It was just strict. They were just trying to shield us from so much. But it's like I had to learn as a parent, the more you shield somebody, the more they're going to go towards it. So, you know, when I met Rich, I saw like a life that I loved music because I did.
How old was y'all at that time?
I was 21.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 20, 21. I was around that. I think I just turned 21. So yeah. And when I met him, I always, so like growing up in the church, I sang in the choir. I thought I was going to be a singer and an actress. That was like my life.
Yeah.
But then I learned, I was like, you know what? I love music. Yeah. But I don't love it enough to be the artist anymore. Right. I want to help the artist. So he like showed me, like he taught me the game. He let me come right along with him. I was just like, let me support you, whatever you need.
So go game.
Yeah. And I like that. What I appreciate the most about him was that he didn't be like, nah, you're my girl. You don't get to come on the road. You can't be a part of this. Like he never shielded me away from it. He's like, you right next to me. Let's do this together. And that taught me so much that I didn't see in my house. Right? Like it was my dad was the hierarchy and my mom was do what you're supposed to do type of situation. And I was like, okay, no, I could be a boss too, right? So it's like I didn't feel like I had to be somebody's secretary or just stay at home wife, you know?
Right.
I was like, I'm being put in position.
But how do you go from being not vocal to being confident and vocal about things and speaking your mind and your thoughts and stuff? Because you know that stuff like that is frightening for somebody who's so quiet.
Right.
You know, I'm a quiet person, but when I get around people and I'm comfortable, I'm open.
Right.
You know, especially with these interviews and stuff, I feel comfortable because I can relate to a lot of people and different lifestyles and stuff like that. So, you know.
Yeah, you know what? It took me a while. It probably took me to the past couple years. Like it took me a long time to like use my voice. I felt comfortable using it with Rich and all of our businesses, but when it came to anything outside of that, I shied away. Like being in front of the camera?
Yeah.
Oh no. Like for what? I was always hiding. I'm like, I'll be behind the scenes. But Rich, he kept pushing me and pushing me. He's like, you are just as much as powerful as I am. So like people need to see you. They need to feel you. They need to know what you're about. So it took me a long time to build the confidence to feel like people care. That, I've had kids. So like my body's changed. So that was a huge thing for me too. Like, I don't know if I want to be seen, like it was just easier for me to be hidden, but I just realized so much more and more that like, the more I talk, the more people are going to move. Right. And it's just on they're just waiting to hear what I have to say. I've proven myself. I've done the work.
Exactly.
So I'm trustworthy, in that sense. So I would say these past 2-3 years, it's what it took. It took me to go through a lot of life experiences to feel comfortable to be who I really am.
Especially nowadays with all the social media and stuff. Like if you're gonna be an influencer or something like that, you gotta be ready to be out there and ready to shine.
Right.
Before we close this first part out, what's some advice you give to some females or even just people in general who are shy and doesn't know how to break out of their shell and they might come from the hood. What's some advice you give them?
I think it's simple. Jump off the cliff, right? Like you're never going to be ready. So just do it.
Yeah.
And you're going to make mistakes. So you might as well, as you make your mistakes, learn from them and just keep going. Like it's like, it's okay to start off with nobody listening to you, then 1, then 5, but just, it's okay to just keep growing and don't let your circumstances like scare you from being who you truly are. Because at the end of the day, your life experiences is why you are important and why you should be speaking and being seen, because it's culture. You have substance. And I feel like don't let your trials and tribulations, the way you grew up, your childhood, I feel like you are the most interesting person. Like I love to know people like that. I want to have conversations. I learn so much from them. So your story is like, that is your spotlight and you need to utilize it to really elevate you to be who you want to be.
Right. Man, yeah, I mean, shit, we all got our own story, So, yeah, I appreciate you. That's a lot of game. I hope everybody runs with that. But look, man, y'all tapping into Urban Moguls to Be. Right here, we drop the most game. Go hit that subscribe button, that like button, and that notification bell. Let's go.